The Michigan Wedding Podcast is brought to you by RDS Films and Michael's Entertainment. Today we're at the magnificent Goldner Walsh. Not only a greenhouse, but also a incredible wedding venue with a diverse amount of options and experiences to share with your loved ones on your special day.
Surprisingly, people, when they drive by, it looks like this little tiny flower shop. But then they come here and it keeps going and going. I mean, at this time of year, it looks pretty vacant because this is the garden area here. So this is normally where we would have our summer retail. It's all full of plants. It's absolutely beautiful. So we're blessed to have another company over here, friends of mine. He's a stone guy. He moved his business here, and so he built the amphitheater for us. This is normally where we would do a ceremony. We've done concerts, we've done bad movie night, we do a lot of different things here. And again, this whole space is just a great, comfortable space. But then, if it rains, we have options. This is called the Bocce Ballroom, and it's actually an indoor bocce ball court. This is also a great space. A lot of people have been using this for a ceremony, or it's definitely for a backup, but also a nice place for a dinner. We can fit 85 people easily down the center for a nice dinner and still have the food in here. So that's turned into a great space. And then we just built this bridal room area. I call it the garden lounge. We're still finishing it up, but this is a great space here. It has its own bathroom, and then the doors go right into the bocce ball court.
Welcome to the Michigan Wedding Podcast, designed for engaged couples curious to learn more about the people that make up the Michigan wedding industry on a deeper, more personal level. My name's Richard, your host today, and we're here at the beautiful Goldner Walsh here in downtown Pontiac. Joining me today are the owner, Tim, and the event manager, Dana. Thank you guys so much for meeting with me. Really appreciate it. You know, I actually got my first plant ever from you guys.
Really?
Yeah. It was a snake plant. So I found out you guys sold plants here during an event. Jessica, I believe, was like, hey, we sell plants, just so you know.
Oh yeah.
So I came by a few days later, picked up a snake plant, just like this one here. And I was living happy.
One of my favorites.
I love this thing.
Yep.
I guess be honest, guys. How many plants do you guys take from here to your house? How many do you have at your house right now?
Surprisingly, not many.
Really?
Well, when I'm working 80 hours a week, the last thing I want to do is go home and water plants. Okay, so I'm into easy care, but they have to be cool.
Mm-hmm.
And so my favorite plants are not fussy at all, and they pretty much pay their rent just by being cool and easy.
Okay. Do you have a favorite plant in particular?
I do. Well, my problem is you can't limit me to one favorite plant.
Yeah.
Okay. A little history, my very first plant, when I started getting into them when I was a young kid, and I'll say that I have a heritage of plant people in my family.
Okay.
I had a grandmother named Rose and one named Lily, and they were both huge gardeners, so they were my influence. And so my first plant, when I started getting into it, were the emerald ripple peperomias, which are super easy to grow, and now they have some really cool ones. And I think what attracted me to that is they have great texture. They're easy to grow, but they have great texture. And then I evolved into like the sansevierias and the echeverias and different succulents. Again, super easy to take care of, but they pay their rent because they're great to look at.
Yeah.
You don't have to do anything with them.
Yeah.
So those are my favorites.
How about you, Dana? How about you?
So this guy currently is my favorite at my house.
Okay.
It's a wave fern, but the reason he's my favorite is because I almost killed him. And I now am realizing I was the type of person that kind of felt like all plants were created equal.
Me too.
And now I'm realizing they're not.
Yeah.
And so he made me learn. So I'm learning now how to take care of him. He's suspended above my table, hanging down. So he's a little bigger at my house, but he's still not, he wasn't camera ready.
Yeah.
He's
camera shy?
yeah, he's still coming out of the woods. So he'll be fully green like this in no time.
No time,
Now
that's
that I've figured out the method of, like I have a bunch of plants that I would just water all at the same time.
Yep.
And that was it. And then all of a sudden things were dying, but like one would be thriving. And I'm like, what's happening? I'm watering you, but yeah.
That's the big thing. It's a big learning curve when you first get into
Yeah.
plants. A
Yeah.
big learning curve.
Especially the ones that people are like, you can't kill. Like the succulents, he's saying that, and I'm like, I killed 3. So
That's okay. We don't want everybody to keep their plants forever. So,
We still need to come back here. Oh, man.
so now my new plant
What do you have?
is this. This is the new Easy Care plant. Essentially, you just add water.
And that's it.
And that's actually an aquarium plant that you can buy at pretty much any aquarium store. And we planted this about a month ago in basically just gravel and water. You let the water breathe before you put it in there. So not, city water has a lot of chlorine and fluorine, all kinds of chemicals in it. So it's best to use filtered water, or if you do tap water, just let it breathe. Yeah,
How long would you say?
like overnight.
Okay.
And then I planted in this, and essentially you just add water.
And that's it.
Give it some
How big does it
some
get?
bright light. I don't know how big this one gets in particular, but there's a lot of dwarf ones that you can get now. And then I discovered a very tiny fish that you can put in there too, which also will benefit. It's a type of minnow.
Okay.
It's called a snow cloud mountain minnow.
Okay.
They can take cold temperatures, meaning that you don't need a heater like an aquarium. It's not a typical aquarium fish, but they're very cool in there. And what that does is creates a balanced water aquatic environment. And so they sustain themselves.
And he says it's clean. That was the first thing I said. That's too much cleaning.
My first one I did is it's 2 months. I've done nothing.
Nothing at all.
Nothing.
Never cleaned it.
Which is even less than I've done with my succulents.
Succulents or snakes, yeah.
So it's
a win
it's a
for me.
fun,
This
it's a
might be the
really
new trend.
I think that's a new
I'll
thing.
have that everywhere, and I don't have to water it.
You heard it here first, okay? I want all the credit for this, okay? I'm not a pet store.
2021
Yeah, I'm not a pet
trending.
store, but this is it. I'm telling you.
This is the future.
Yeah.
This is the 3D planet printing.
That's
That
right.
plant.
Plants.
Uh-huh. Tim Travis, just so you know.
That's TRAVIS.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
man.
okay.
Well, you guys obviously help create some of the most beautiful weddings throughout Michigan at this venue, I guess. What's it like working for such an incredible place?
Well,
Awesome.
yeah. You mean me working or your?
Both you guys running in.
Awesome. I mean, come
Yeah.
on, it's awesome.
I love what I do.
Okay.
And that's why I can be here 80 hours a week or more. But the main thing, what I get more pleasure out of is seeing our customers and our guests enjoy our space as much as we do. And it's a magical place. You cannot duplicate this setting in a building, whether it's inside a greenhouse or outside. And we're very fortunate. We have 12 acres here, and this is a historic landmark. This dates back to 1890. Yeah, these greenhouses were actually a cut flower greenhouse that primarily grew flowers just for the flower shop.
Okay.
So we have evolved when Goldner Walsh moved here in 1980, which is my first summer working here. We have evolved to be a destination, not just for our landscape business, which is our core business and Goldner Wash's history. In fact, we're also the longest running landscape company in Oakland County, and this particular facility is the longest running business in Pontiac. So we have a tremendous amount of history here. So we're evolving and we're creating new history. And so the event part of the business really took off without us trying.
Okay.
And it was really from our customers asking for something new and different.
Unique. Yeah.
And by being open to the idea is what gave us the direction on how to make it, because at the time when we started doing this, nobody was doing this.
Yeah.
And so our first event was at least 20 years ago.
Okay. So take us back, actually. How did Goldner Walsh, I know you opened up in like 1890, so 100 years in business. That's
Well, no. This facility is, yeah. But Goldner Walsh has been in business for 66 years.
okay.
So now what started it, as a garden store, I mean, we always share our knowledge and expertise to our customers. So we've always done small, workshops and that kind of thing. That's easy, that's a given. But what really took us off track to a new track was a customer of ours who is a gardener, a huge gardener. And, but he's also very involved in the opera.
Okay.
And I'm going, this is interesting. I had met him,
Okay.
but I didn't really know him until he had a garden walk at his house. And I go there and he has a sign that says, "Who wants to see the opera at Goldner Walsh?" I'm going, well, I don't know anything about this. And so I introduced myself to this guy. I said, so I'm Tim Travis, I'm the owner of Goldner Walsh, and apparently we are doing something with the opera at my store. And he's like, yeah. I'm going, do you recall who you talked to about this event that we're doing? He says, well, I talked to you. And I'm going, at this point, there's an audience around him because he's very charismatic. I'm going, so when did we have this conversation? And he said, right now. So he already knew that we were doing this event, even though I didn't know we were doing this event. And it turned out to be one of the single most successful fundraisers for the Detroit Opera House. So he came and did a lecture on a particular opera, whether it was Madame Butterfly or La Bienne or what. I probably tortured it, but I'd never been to an opera before that. So anyway, he would do the lecture, and then suddenly I got into the event business because I needed dishes, tables, chairs, and so I invested all this money because he promised me it was going to be a success, and it was huge. And so we did 3 opera events. And then some time went by, and we continued to do our in-house events. And then I had a friend who had an emergency wedding that he wanted to do on Easter weekend, and he couldn't find a church. I'm going, okay, well, that's interesting. So he wanted to do it in a greenhouse, just a ceremony. So I said, okay, this can't be too difficult. Just put some chairs in there, and so his wife, or fiance, surprised them by giving all the guests an envelope with butterflies. So they all let go of these butterflies in the greenhouse, which was really cool.
That's beautiful.
But then, that's what he surprised her with, but then she surprised him by arranging a helicopter to come to pick them up to take them to the ceremony.
It landed here?
It landed here.
How did you guys get away with that?
I'm not the pilot. But we have 12 acres here, so they somehow did it under the radar. And let me tell you, it's a good way to clean your driveway. Yeah, so then time went by, and we didn't, that was just kind of a fluke, a one-off, I thought. And then there was another customer who insisted that their daughter had to have their wedding here, not knowing, again, what was involved. And they said, don't worry, I'll get the caterers, we'll get, all you need is set your chairs up. I'm going, okay, this can't be too difficult. Well, from that one wedding, we ended up doing the weddings for the rest of the kids in their family, and then they all had friends in their weddings that all wanted to have weddings, and then it went viral, and it just went crazy, and all of a sudden we're like one of the #1 destinations for wedding venues, and this is way before the concept of destination weddings in a greenhouse or a farm or something was really popular, and it really helped us guide the direction to look at this as an important business addition. It's a bonus, really, for us, because we're like 9 to 6, garden store, and now we're then a 6 to
11,
midnight
yeah.
event space.
It's a whole nother limb.
I still,
Yeah.
I still limit it because I don't want to take away from what we do for our customers, and I also don't want to take away from the experience for the families having these events. So that's something to keep in mind. A lot of places, they become an event venue, and it's almost cookie cutter, and they're pushing events through like crazy. And the problem is you can't create an experience when you don't have enough time to do that. So here we pretty much limit it to one wedding a weekend or one big event a weekend. We might be able to slip in a ceremony in one day and or
Shower,
two small, or
something.
shower or whatever. But we have enough space that we can work it. And the other advantage that we have is, since we have the 2 acres of space, and you'll have a chance to see that, we have an outdoor amphitheater and an outdoor fireplace, which is really our primary space that we have. But then we decided, well, what happens if it rains? I was lucky for 5 years or 6 years. It never rained. It never rained on a wedding. Isn't that crazy?
5 years.
I wish that would happen now for us.
Yeah. So so we were lucky, but then we decided we still had empty greenhouse spaces, so I built an indoor bocce ball court, which turned out to be so cool. Yeah. So now we have the backup for indoor and outdoor spaces. So we devoted 3 of the greenhouses that we are no longer using for production into just an event space, but we can spread people out, and they're not just stuck in a room. I don't rent a room. I essentially rent the whole space with adaptable. If we're doing 2 events, the day before or something like that, there's spaces that are flexible. But we also don't require them to use a particular caterer or a beverage. Okay. They can bring their own bar service in here, and that's very unique in the event business.
So it's pretty open format here.
Very open, because I don't want to get in the middle of that. Yeah. I want them to, if they want to bring their own food, that's fine. Sometimes you have to be careful, because one guy brought his own beer, and it exploded in my, he I think his experience with making beer was less than if you went to a normal place. And then, when the beer was rolling down the hallway in the middle of the day, it's like, something is not right here. I didn't tap it right, whatever. I'm not a beer guy, but again, we want to focus on the experience. The space sells itself. I don't need to promote it, and you can't duplicate the experience with the natural lighting and all that thing. Probably the hardest thing for these families to find is a photographer who knows how to photograph outside. Really? If you think about it, most wedding photographers are indoor photographers. Yeah. So when you have an outdoor space like this, there's different concepts with lighting and composition that's required to really capture the moment. Mm-hmm. So we have that. And now that it's becoming more popular to have outdoor type weddings, that's important. But in a greenhouse is perfect lighting for photography. Yeah. Would you say that? We see right there. So we have the unique space that we have both indoor and outdoor. Okay. So we're not locked into one space or another.
And I was going to say, all the weddings I've done here, they've always been, I guess, in different sectors of this venue. So one time the ceremony took place in the amphitheater. Yeah. Then cocktail hour was in like that lounge area between
Cedar Room.
Is that what that's called? Mm-hmm. Okay, I didn't know the name of it. Okay. And then we partied all night in the celebration room, basically.
Right, which is it's all adjacent to each other.
And it was cool because it was like a dynamic, like you said, a dynamic experience for all the guests there. Right. Different scenery throughout the night, not just one room the entire time.
Well, think about a typical hotel. Yeah. They have one space for both the ceremony and the reception. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And not everybody wants to be there once the music starts. Right. So we have the flexibility. People are not feeling restless, and they can move around and go inside or outside, and we can bring food trucks in. And
so during an event, is this entire place open for people to walk around and lounge in, or?
Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Okay. So it's and that gives them a lot of freedom, but they don't usually need to go beyond the main space that they're at. Mm-hmm. But the other part is going back to the photography. When they're doing photographs for the family or the event, we have a huge backdrop, a natural backdrop with the nursery, the the trees and the shrubs, and we're on the Clinton River, and we have an old boiler. There's a lot of cool places here. So there's a lot to work with here. And because of that also, we're getting not just venues, we're getting a lot of artists coming here, photographers. We've had 3 movies shot here. It's a fun space.
Well, and they can personalize it. That's what's so cool. They can do anything they want. Yeah. So not the standard.
What have you seen as like the most popular, I guess, setups when it comes to where your ceremony is taking place? And I know our event we did last, the ceremony took place in the bocce court, right? Yeah. What have you guys seen throughout the years, I guess?
I would think probably the one thing that surprises me is the name tags.
Really?
What people do to put name tags.
Yeah.
They'll put it in a pot. They put
for the seating. Is that what you're talking
about?
about?
For the seating and stuff like that.
Like a succulent, basically.
Yeah, we'll leave with a little gift or something like that. But the amount of attention they do in the little details.
It's huge.
And I think it's mainly because they have the time. Usually. Or they're inspired by a space like this that makes their creativity go into overdrive. And so they spend a lot of time ahead of time before they even come here. And so they know that they have a limited amount of time to really set up, but the space lends itself to an easier setup because you don't have to do everything. A blank room in a hotel, there's nothing. You got walls and chairs.
That's it.
Here we got plants, and we have a cat that walks around. We got, if it's late enough, they probably see some deer and some other things. But I mean, the reality is that you don't need to fill up the space because it's empty, because it really isn't. There's a lot of depth here.
And we bring in plants too. So like that's the other cool part, bringing in all the plants to make it not feel empty. So it also makes it feel different and something more special.
Depends on the time of year, I mean, in the fall there's like hydrangeas in bloom, so there's a lot you can work with. Just placing a few plants here and there. We don't like jam it up like you're in the middle of the tropical house down in the back. And you don't really need that. People think you do, but actually you really don't. Once you fill it with people,
the plants are just
the plants are just little, softens it a little bit. But again, what I think more than anything else is the lighting, the vistas that we have. You're not enclosed. Even though you're in a greenhouse, you can see through them.
And it feels like you're outside.
So you got a lot of space visually all over. And that makes it, you can't duplicate that anywhere else.
And whatever they want to do. Like we had a wedding that I feel like went completely outside of the box and did the dancing in the amphitheater.
Okay.
So they had dinner inside like a normal wedding would do, and then they had food trucks show up and they used the outdoor bar and they went down to the amphitheater and danced, so it was like a concert. Like everybody was kind of all, it was not
dancing
expected.
Under the stars.
Yeah, you had the stars out and all the plants everywhere. It was cool. Like it was so cool. So
we had another wedding similar to that where they moved they built a dance floor in the celebration, not the celebration room, but the cedar room, which is not a normal place for the reception.
Which room is that again?
That's that middle room.
The middle room where you normally have the food stations and stuff. So they built a dance floor, a raised dance floor, so it felt like they were at Studio 54. The mistake they made is they asked me to get on the stage. And apparently they wrote about it.
Really?
Yeah. I haven't read that review, but it wasn't bad. Yeah, it's like, oh, the best thing was the owner got on the dance floor. It's like, don't tell people that.
Don't tell people.
Don't
give us that image.
This should not be, this is not a good image, but.
He can't be doing that every weekend, is what he's trying to say. He's got too much talent for the dance.
Yeah. So.
Well, you guys obviously have a pretty big space here, right? I guess, what other amenities do you guys have? Can people get ready here? How about spots for caterings? Let's break that down some.
Well, we have a full service florist, which is a huge advantage. On site, because you can't believe how many times they forgot that Uncle George was showing up, and they forgot his boutonniere. Okay, and so we have that here. We can set up. We don't charge for setup, which is another small
no delivery
expense that people don't think about. But we also have these cool plants and other things that they can use that's outside of a typical floral mindset for the decorations. We also have a huge amount of, we have like vintage milk glass, we have vases that they can use that are different. Other amenities is we do have an area that people can get ready.
Okay.
We have several bathrooms on site. You know, we have all the normal stuff that you need. Plenty of electricity to work around. In the reception area alone, we have 2 circuits so that the music circuit is not interfering with the lighting and stuff like that, because you get humming and that kind of stuff. We're pretty low tech in general, but very adaptable.
Okay.
But we did get techie this year.
How so?
With COVID, we did live streaming.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, we like
So that was kind of a cool thing, you know, like, I mean, nobody likes COVID, but
Right.
like it brought us a little bit more into
the tech world.
new things.
Yeah, and not to fall off that, but we've done several funerals here.
Really?
If you think about it, funerals, it
Not
doesn't,
like COVID.
it's not, well, it's not that. It's just that in general, most funerals tend to be very somber, but you put them in a space like
And
here,
it kind of brightens up.
it brightens it up.
Yeah.
And I mean, we did both my mom and my dad's funeral here, and people still say, you know, that was the best funeral I've ever been to.
Really?
And because it ended, it was a true celebration
Yeah.
in a
Celebration,
space
yeah.
in a space that was natural for that. And so it's we're not limited to just weddings or even just private parties. There's, you know, we can also do private dinners and, you know, themed things, you know, the wedding,
Bachelorette parties.
bachelorette parties, showers, all that.
They even have a dog training class. That they're special dogs, like, you know, like working. What do you call them? Working dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Service dogs.
There you go.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah.
So this place is a knack of all trades, basically.
Yeah.
You do everything. I love it. I love it.
No, we like we.
Come here. We'll find a way to make it work for you.
Yeah.
Work for you, don't we?
Yep.
Right. So guest count wise, it's pretty massive space, obviously. How many guests can couples have here?
In normal times, we've had up to 250. A comfortable level is around 150 to 175, and that actually turns out to be the normal. Once you're getting at 200, it's 250, it gets a little crowded. The other thing I highly recommend is anything bigger than that. Usually hasn't been a huge problem because they usually get blocks of rooms at hotels and they get shuttles, and that makes it so much better for the guests. You know, we have, you know, a lot of parking scattered all over, and so we can usually work that out. But yeah, I mean, but in a space like this is our tropical house. We've had weddings for 30 easily.
In this spot here?
In this spot.
Oh, wow.
You know, this is a very intimate space. So, you know, it's not that we're stuck to only large events. You know, we can do small ones.
Let's actually talk about that a bit more. So I guess option-wise, what different varieties can couples choose from when getting married here, having a reception?
Sky is the limit. Literally. Seriously.
You have 12 acres, you said, right?
Yeah, we got lots of space. Now, again, I usually limit it to one event per night. Now, I pretty much reserve all of the Saturdays for 100+ events, you know, because we have to. That's the most popular. We sell out easily. The smaller ones, if it's on a Friday or a Sunday or something like that, we have a lot of flexibility there. Or during the week, it doesn't matter. But we also do a lot of fundraisers and other charity events that usually happen on a Thursday. Or we'll do bad movie night.
You got a popcorn machine.
Yeah, we like to, you know, the other part of it is, you know, our core business is landscaping and the flower shop and the garden store. But our employees get to experience this other part of the business, and it's actually fun for them.
Yeah.
So even though my landscape guys are planting trees, they'll help set up
For a wedding.
or whatever if we need to help. We have the variety of experience here that benefit our customers as well as our employees. And it's a fun place to work. And this has a natural energy that I can't even describe.
Walk in and you feel happier. You know,
Yeah.
when you come in, you know?
Peaceful, you
Right.
know?
That's
Yeah.
a
It's like
word,
good for
yeah.
your soul.
Right. Good
Yeah.
For you.
I mean, we're kind of used to it because we're surrounded by plants every day, all day long.
Yeah.
So we kind of like, this is our normal thing. But when we see that new experience coming through a customer, they don't know what's happening or why it's happening. We do. and we, of
We can
course,
guide
take
you.
advantage of that. But it's like, it's okay. It only happens here.
Yeah.
But,
It's magical.
but I mean, it's, you know, we're very fortunate. Mother Nature figured this out a long time ago. And so we just work with it, and it sells itself.
I've read some reviews online about this place from like different couples and clients, and people rave
Yeah.
about you guys.
Yeah.
I guess, what is like some of the biggest compliments you guys have got about this place from past clients or couples or guests that come in now to just buy plants?
I would say probably one of the biggest things I hear is that they can make it their own. You know, like they don't have a billion restrictions. So they want to hang stuff from the ceiling, hang stuff from the ceiling. You know, if you want to be outside for half your night, be outside for half your night. Like there's just an abundance of options, I think. So it allows them to have exactly what they want.
And going back to the experience that they have, it's something they've never experienced. You know, sometimes this is the first time grandma was outside of the house, you know. But a lot of it we take credit for, but most of it is because of our setting. And again, going back to the flexibility, they can't believe it. It's like, oh yeah, you can bring your own food here? It's like, yeah, whatever. Make sure it's good. You know, I mean, I might be hungry, you know?
Make sure it tastes okay.
Yeah, you know, it's like, but, and actually that, by saving them that much money on those aspects of the experience, they don't feel so restricted themselves that it's better for them as well.
Yeah.
And we enjoy working with them, and they know that we enjoy what we do, and that creates a whole mindset that they come in here from the beginning, and then they are so happy at the end, but it's all their friends and their family that reinforces how much of a great time they had. And surprisingly, like, you know, I talk about the food thing because I enjoy that part. The bride and groom never eats.
Yeah.
They're so busy, talking and whatever. But it's when they hear the feedback from their friends what a great time they had.
Yeah.
And it's really just because they're more relaxed. They can, enjoy themselves.
Enjoy themselves.
And going back to like these fundraisers that we've done, it's the same feedback. They generally raise more money at a fundraiser here than any other venue. And a lot of it has to do with people come in, it's like, they're relaxed.
Yeah, it's the environment.
They might relax their wallet a little bit too.
It's a little bit more freeing.
I don't benefit from that personally, but anyway, I mean, and the other thing that they enjoy is the fact that we're so involved in the community that they support us. And I will say that we really learned that this year. You know, when this whole shutdown happened and everybody is experiencing something that none of us have experienced, what really showed more than anything else that we find out who your friends are.
Yep.
And even though we physically were shut down for 6 weeks, outside, inside we had to keep watering the plants and all that. But we had people coming out of the woodwork literally saying, can I send you $10? Oh, wow. Just to we need you here. Yeah. And we had a lot of new people come in, supporting local. I mean, we're as local as it gets. Okay. And I think that's another part of it is we're a one-off. There is nothing like this. And people, even though they had weddings or whatever scheduled, they felt bad that they had to change them to next year. But then we more than made up for it for real small gatherings.
Like the one we did.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly
and
like that.
Because we were flexible enough to be able to do that. But it's as a business owner, to see that response from the community after all that we've done for 60 years for the community, there's definitely something about being pay forward.
Yeah.
And they came back. And the same with my employees. I have amazing employees. And they come to me because they want to work for this company.
Yeah.
They hear about it, and I have great employees, and it makes it fun. It makes it fun that it's not a grind. It's hard work, trust me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Keeping all these, these things alive.
Like,
oh yeah.
But you know, we have some seasonality, so we have time to rest. But and right now, the only place that we can do something is up in this tropical house during the winter, just because.
What is your most popular season, actually?
It starts.
June?
Yeah.
June
Well, it
is
starts
gone
in
right
April.
away.
It's since we've opened up some of the other indoor spaces like the bocce ball court, it has expanded. It used to be literally from just June to September, and now it's like April to November. You know, and I could do more if I just could figure out how to prevent my toilets from freezing in the back. You know, but it's kind of important, just so you know.
It's all shut down.
But I mean, it's, you know, you can't do year round, except for up in here. But again, it gives us the opportunity to do our own fun stuff, our own tropical events and whatever. But it's a magical place.
Oh, it is. Oh, yeah. Well, let's say a couple wants to get married here. I guess what's the process look like for them to get in touch with you guys and get that process going?
We would probably do a tour first if they haven't been here, and then they would pick out where their main room would be, like which reception area. But sometimes that changes throughout the planning process. Like I said, sometimes they decide they can go outside, they're gonna go outside now, so we're gonna change things. We're gonna do a tent.
Yeah.
But then that's pretty much, I mean, we just work with whatever they're kind of looking to have done and where they're wanting to go with things. And as the process continues, we tell people they can come in on weekends when we're doing weddings so they can kind of start seeing things set up. And then people come in and they're like, wait, I didn't think about that. I kind of like this. I want to do that. And then they'll come in another weekend, and it's fun. It's an inspiring place. So once they've kind of figured out what they're doing with all their stuff, and it's a few weeks before, then they would come in and we'll plan like the room with them, so they'll know exactly where everything's going to be and how many tables and chairs, and you get it all kind of concrete.
It's interesting how people find us, because we don't promote this at all. So they find us. They either know somebody who's been here for a wedding or whatever, or we're like on the web in a lot of different places.
Yeah.
And you know, we've had so many interesting experiences with these guests, and they remember it, or they heard about it, whatever. And we had one wedding where the bride brought her entire apartment here.
Really? What do you mean?
Her couch, her table, all the stuff, because she was moving into her fiance's house and had already arranged to get rid of all her furniture, but she brought it here first. So they set up the apartment in the greenhouse for people for sitting. It was like a lounge, and then everybody took their furniture home, except for one chair, but I couldn't. It's an oversized leather chair. But the reality is, the fact that we allowed that, those people talk about that, and so we have more fun finding out how they found out about us than anything else. Yeah. And I mean, the fact that you're here is because you've been here.
Countless times. And we love working here. The staff is great here. You guys are always on point with running the show, and the environment's the big thing too. When you walk in, it's a breath of fresh air, you know? Well, the day of a wedding for a couple, what can they expect that to be like for you guys exactly?
Well, I mean, a lot of times, like, the bride and like her wedding party will come here at like 11-ish or so, get ready in the bridal suite, do photos and things like that. We had, I don't know, a couple different weddings this year where the girls all had like robes on and ran out in the nursery and were doing all their photos and stuff. It's kind of fun. They get to do different things like that. But we've finished kind of cleaning and setting up as the day goes on, and it's usually me and Kate, the other event coordinator, and just kind of put it together, whatever they're needing, whatever they're wanting, and then everything starts, people come and starts piling in, and the event's on. It's happening.
We usually start the weddings around 6 o'clock because we're open as a business. And so we have to, we have to space it out just so that it doesn't, our business doesn't interfere with their experience. And, but usually they're excited about being here, and we work with them as well as we can ahead of time, give them as much time as possible, not just 2 hours, which most venues do. And so that actually makes it easier once the bride gets here and the groom gets here. They're not so rushed at the last minute. And that makes a huge difference for them. And then everything just goes from there. But they're usually way more hands-on than a typical venue, and we encourage that. So they have a great relationship with their caterer or their music or DJs or whatever. So they're doing all of that legwork and not depending on us to keep, pacing them.
Right.
And I think that's more of the norm now, because the younger people in particular like that. They
The
want
open
to be
format style where they can kind of customize it to their own liking, basically.
Right, and that makes it easier for us too.
How
And
different can they be, to represent them? So I think that part's cool,
it really is surprising how you would think with as many weddings that we've done that there's no two alike. There's no
Truly,
there's no
there's not.
cookie, I mean, every once in a while, like as Dana was saying, like a bride would come to experience the setup and what another wedding looks like. They don't like crash the wedding.
Yeah.
They don't belly up to the bar or anything like that. But there's been times when it's like, hey, when you're done with the wedding, can we buy that prop
What are they
or
doing
whatever?
with all that decoration
Can
stuff?
can it be here? And we've had weddings where it was two families that knew each other and they arranged to have their weddings in the same week. So they shared the same flowers, everything. But that's all right. That's fine. But they did it. We didn't have to do that. We can focus on making sure it's set up and cleaned and whatever last minute details. But it's the flexibility that works really well for them.
You guys have mentioned a bit about like the different formats and things couples can do to kind of customize this to their own liking. What's like, obviously you've been here for a while and you've been here now for a bit too. What's the coolest thing you've seen, customization wise when it comes to
The ladder was my favorite. The hydrangeas above the table. That was my favorite so far, I think.
Oh, another one, actually it was in this room. It was a surprise birthday party.
Okay.
They hung 1,000 sunflowers from the ceiling.
1,000 from this room here?
Yeah, it was crazy.
Wow.
It's like, wow.
1,000
It
sunflowers.
was really
Yeah.
dramatic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See it.
Just so you know, my birthday is June 16th. Just, anybody wants to throw me a party, I know, I don't,
No biggie.
yeah.
So let's say a couple decides to book with you guys here, and we're still in the same situation where we're in right now with everything going on at the moment. Do you guys have rooms to accommodate for what's happening right now, if this is a thing in the future?
Well, as you say, every week we don't really know what we can or cannot do.
Yep.
But the difference here is we have 12 acres.
Yep.
We have a lot of outdoor space. Our greenhouses are in the back are just dedicated for events. So each greenhouse technically could hold 200 to 300 people.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have something like 30 people in an event, it's no problem. We don't really know what the true limitations are, but we respect whatever the code is.
Yep.
We have the flexibility to do that here. Again, it's not our number one revenue source here. So we're not trying to break the rules just because we're desperate to capture that money. Trust me, people want us to do that. It's not us, it's the guests that we have to manage more than anything else. But we're hoping this short term, but it did hurt us this year for a lot of the larger weddings and events. But we still had the flexibility to do a lot of smaller ones. Some of them were literally just the family, just doing their vows, and then they're planning another real wedding next year or even 2 years from now.
I think that's what we did. It was like,
I was gonna say that.
like what, 30 people?
Yep.
If that, and it was a
Yeah.
nice
Ceremony in the same room with the apps or whatever
It
they
was
did.
like a ceremony, then cocktail hour, and that was basically it. Yeah.
Yeah. But people are knowing that that's the new norm.
Yep.
And they've adjusted their lifestyle around it anyway. But I know that once things open up again, there's going to be a lot of celebrations.
Oh yeah.
Or re-celebrations.
In the celebration room.
Yes,
Right.
but we're still
Right.
able to like flow with the COVID thing. Like because he said like we have property, so we can put up a tent. Like they have
you guys
room
had
there
that before?
for it.
Happened before? Okay.
Yeah.
And you know, like if we were a regular banquet hall, that would be a little harder. Just pop a tent up in the parking lot.
Yeah.
But we can do it, and it still looks cool, and it's still fun, and all of our venue spaces have like access to outside, so we can put up the garage doors. So there's a lot more, I think, comfortability for people. You know, little things like maybe instead of making a table one way, we make it a little wider so that not everybody's sitting next to each other,
Right.
and they have airflow.
Right.
Yeah.
So you have the space to accommodate, basically.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Well, other than that, I guess, looking back at working here for you guys, what's your favorite part about being at such a incredible, beautiful spot?
Nothing's ever the same. That is seriously my favorite part. Like, all the people are amazing, and every day is a totally new day.
That's what keeps me going. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time, and the whole event part of the business has added a whole new experience for me as a business owner.
Yeah.
But it's being able to meet a lot more people. You know, it's not just a customer looking for a plant. It's a customer wanting a lifetime experience. And that is the biggest compliment, is that they actually come here and they want to have that important part of their life celebrated in my space. And it's all memories. It's great memories.
Impactful.
Yep. Exactly. Having an impact on people's lives. Yeah. That's beautiful, guys.
Yeah.
Well, I had a blast chatting with you guys. Thank you. Really appreciate it. I guess any other final notes or comments you want to add in here before we part ways?
Be patient. Trust me, this is...
And be creative.
Be creative and patient. This is fine. You can do a live streaming event here if you want. We actually have a debutante party where they're actually live streaming the couples throughout the day and then Zooming it. So this used to be a huge event with it's kind of like a big prom, but they're basically interviewing the couples individually with this backdrop. So why not do something like that if you have to?
That's really cool.
We have at least the setting to create the mood, to create the conversation.
Yes.
And once things, you can always have another party. You know, I mean, now everybody has two weddings.
Yeah.
That's
real
the new
one,
trend.
And then the fun one.
The fun one, exactly.
Yeah, you know, I mean,
Yeah,
it's just you know, there's that's
post-COVID one.
Yeah, we're gonna be here.
The Michigan Wedding Podcast is brought to you by RDS Films and Michael's Entertainment.